So yeah, I went shopping with my little girl, and when we got back, I saw a crab. And because the first time I ever saw a crab, I was like between 7 and 8 years old at MDS teachers' quarters, at my uncle's house, rather my aunt's house, because she was the teacher. So that's the first time I saw a crab, because my cousin and I had built a we built a house. We built a room using timber, like logs. This might have been someone's firewood, but we saw it lying there and we're like building materials, and we built a room that could fit the two of us. And we had it there like 1 day, 2 days. I think about the third day it rained, and at the area where the house was, it was that red earth that gets really messy when it's rainy. So all the digging we had done for our structure was creating more mud. So my uncle's wife, my aunt, it wasn't a nice look, you know. She didn't like it for her front door. I don't blame her. So she asked us, you know, can you guys please pack away your shack, because it's not a nice look. So we're thinking, heck, our home. And it was raining. And we had to take down our property. Worse, we find that we have a tenant now. There was a crab. Yeah. Oh gosh. There was a crab. See, there was the side of the room, because it was just the four-walled structure. So on the one side, the trench that was created by where we had installed the poles, in that trench a crab had taken up residence. So a little water had pooled there, and the crab was very comfortable there. So now it's our first time meeting a crab, and we're in love with the creature, obviously. Stay away. It's our first time seeing a crab, and it's our first home. So seeing that we have a tenant now, like a guest, made it that much harder taking it down. But we did. And made sure that the crab could move along safely, made sure not to harm it, and that's just a child's sensibility, is to have a natural reverence for creatures, smaller creatures, and we had that for the crab. So that was my first time seeing a crab. And the next time I saw a crab was here, in front of the apartment, when I got back from doing some groceries. So for me, this is significant for two reasons. One, I was listening to a YouTuber named Nonkwenkwezi. Nonkwenkwezi is a Xhosa woman who is a spirit medium. So she went through the different Southern African initiations, including I was listening to Unonkwenkwezi, and Unonkwenkwezi is a spirit medium. a Xhosa spirit medium. So she spoke about the crab, and she said that the crab is a messenger from Utadobao. Utadobao in isiXhosa means the sister of my father, literally. That's the transliteration, the sister of my father. And in English that would be your paternal aunt, the sister of your father. So it is said then in isiXhosa, in Xhosa culture, there's a situation that can take place where one of the family members can undergo initiation by specifically a mermaid spirit. And when that happens, that member of the family, the living member of the family, is taught by the mermaid in the arts of healing, the arts of rulership, and just various other social skills.
Hello, oh my God.
So I have dreamed of a mermaid before. In 2015. First time I dreamed of a mermaid, and it was so vivid that obviously I posted about it. Obviously I wrote about it. I'm a Facebook writer, too lazy to publish, so I share too much. And I wrote about my dream sighting of the mermaid. It was so vivid. And she was not African. She wasn't black. Like she looked Mediterranean because of her curl pattern. Like she had spiral curls, but it wasn't an African person's hair, and her skin was like your tan, like your olive tan skin, but not as melanated as myself. A looser curl pattern than your Ntu curl pattern. So that's the woman I dreamed about, and I was swimming behind her, and her tail was flapping in my face. I could feel it. It was just an amazing dream. Like I was so happy from it, just to see it. And in a dream you don't know you're dreaming, so everything is real. And to be in the presence of a mermaid was quite wonderful. So I saw her, and I saw that we were swimming towards a cave, and the cave was made from pumice, like pumice stone. And inside the cave she had amatwasa, she had initiates. So I went through the Ugutwasa initiation, so I know what it looks like. So I had a point of reference, I guess, for my dream. And she was with Amatwasa in the pumice cave. They were in the regalia of initiates, those red, black and white cloths that we don. So I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see that she was relaying instructions to the young women. There were young women, all of the initiates, a handful of them, maybe like 7, 8 of them, sitting there in the cave. And I was in the water as well, because all of this is underwater, but looking from a distance, I couldn't hear what they were saying. Yeah, that was my dream of the mermaid in 2015. So I came across Nongwenkwezi's discussion recently, after the dream about the mermaid. So it was interesting to me about what the Datobawa spirit is to Amakosa and the role of mermaids in that. So the interesting thing for me personally is the concept of Utatobao, where in Isingoni or Singuni Nguni culture, Southern African black culture, na tingumtana ka malume, like I'm Malume's child. That's what we say. If your mother was not married, Wananami, my children bamvana babo malume. If I had brothers, we would say bamvana babo malume. Because Tata Babo, their fathers, have not done amasiko in their culture or in my culture to acknowledge paternity. Say for a DNA test for my older child, there's really been no formalization of the identity of the child. So I'm not speaking of my biologically paternal relatives. I'm speaking of abantu bagomama from my mother's side of the family. My Dadobawa spirit, if I have one, would be coming from my mother's side of the family, because andingomtana proper dingomtana malume. So if I'm looking for paternal relatives, I'm literally looking for my mother's paternal relatives and potentially her maternal relatives, because if abantu bakotatomkhulu abenzanga isiko, then yeah, that's we're stuck in our matrilineal heredity, and that's fine. It's just a matter of knowing which side your bread is buttered. So I am umvana wasekabo mage, kwana mage ngumvana wasekabo mage. That is my situation. That is the vein that I would be looking at. So when I see this crab outside of this apartment, you know, this apartment really being a symbol of the peaking of my housing insecurity in terms of just living where you have no control over, just like floating along because you've put your trust in the wrong things, because you gave up your independence and came back from Mqashweni to nurse your sickly mother and get her off her, what do they call it? When someone's on their last legs, right? Someone's on their deathbed. You know, you come back to nurse them off their deathbed and realize that now your independence is being undermined maliciously, deliberately, and you're literally being taunted and laughed at for having come back from your independence, for having given it up, because this person is now well and they are back to abusing you as viciously as they did when they were well. But basically it's a situation of cohabitation, you know, of codependency, economic codependency, where we're carrying the household together, but there's a dynamic of psychological, emotional abuse that has me, being treated as though I'm worthless, as though I am the dependent, even though I know that's not the case. I know that if I were to bugger off, that the same thing would happen as the last time. I would have to come back because your fellow church congregants and the members of the extended family are now speaking on your behalf and asking me to come back and look after you because they're not willing to do it. So, that was my mistake. But it's a mistake that I would make over and over again because that's who I am. If you tell me that, and if I can see that you're leaving us, like you're dying, I'm not going to think about all of the things that you've done to destroy me in the past. I'm going to nurse you back to health. And that's what I did. I nursed her back to health. And as soon as she was healthy again, she started to remind me that she doesn't actually need me around. And she reminds me by tormenting me, tormenting my children, disrespecting me, disrespecting my children. And so we moved from Eveni, and then we moved from Tembelihle, and we moved from Tembelihle again, and then we moved to Makolokolo. This is the fourth event of our housing insecurity expressing itself, the fourth event of our displacement, my children and I. So seeing the crab, right, and remembering that the last time I saw this creature, I had built my first one room. I did it with my cousin. We had built our first single room. And that's what the crab did for me. It brought back it brought back this reminder that I have to build a home for this girl and my son and myself. So while I was filming this, my daughter broke the charger I'd borrowed from my mother. So I have to go buy 2 chargers now to replace my mother's, and to have a charger so that I don't have to use my mother's, because we actually don't have a relationship. It is the unhealthiest, most toxic, most hostile dynamic ever. What experts of narcissism or narcissistic abuse call enmeshment, where you have a commonwealth, an economic commonwealth, with somebody who has been deliberately ensuring that you don't have economic independence. So buying my own charger is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. It's a symbol of dismantling the enmeshment, and ultimately acquiring my own home. So in the bit of the recording that I lost, I was talking about how I'm going to construct my home. That it's going to be a house of cob, which is clay mixed with straw, because that makes it stronger. And I spoke about, I don't know if I still have that in the video, but I was talking about how even my knowledge of how to build in that manner, I attributed to inzunzu, which is believed to expose you to influences outside of the cultures that you were born into. It's a more universal experience of intellect and spirituality. So I believe that it's possibly through that spirit that I came to find out that Nebelungu Bayapata, white people as well, build houses from mud, and then they modify their mud by adding straw to it, and they call that cob, and it gives it what they call a tensile strength, which means that it makes the textile or the fabric of the wall more flexible against wind, humidity, changes in air pressure, etc. So that makes it more durable. Cob is actually stronger than brick, it turns out. So I had been saying in that video that I've been meaning to go to Guba Farm in Malkerns because they have an archive of ecological homesteading that they share with people who come there. So hopefully they will know something about cob construction. But if they don't, I feel like I could do it. I could pull it off with my YouTube schooling. I mean, I had a home birth through YouTube schooling. I birthed this girl watching a YouTube video, like literally breathing through the process on YouTube, learning how to push, how to position myself, go on all fours by myself, me and YouTube. So how I birthed her gives me a lot of confidence about how I'm going to build her home and her brother's home. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work out in the editing. It's been a very fragmented process piecing this video together, and a very fraught one. I kind of lost my happy place there, but later, I guess.